Welcome to the Overcommitted podcast, your weekly dose of real engineering conversations. I'm your host this week, Brittany, and I am joined by...
Hey, I'm Bethany.
We met while working on a team at GitHub and realized we are all obsessed with getting better at what we do. So we started this podcast to share what we're learning and talk to some awesome people in the community that are learning as well. We'll be talking about everything from leveling up your technical skills, navigating professional development, all with the goal of creating a community where engineers can learn and connect. Today on Overcommitted, I am very excited that we are joined by Craig Dennis, who is a developer educator at Cloudflare and the creator of some really cool YouTube content, AI Avenue, which is an educational docu-series that explores how people are using artificial intelligence. He's a self-taught developer who was in the Peace Corps and had developer education roles at Treehouse and Twilio, now at Cloudflare, and he has spent his career bridging the gap between complex technology and the people who need to understand it. His teaching philosophy has been called AI as a power-up and not as autopilot, which emphasizes that developers should think systematically before prompting, maintaining their fundamental skills while leveraging AI to amplify their capabilities. Thank you so much, Craig, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here and to talk through some of this stuff.
Awesome. To kick us off, what is one thing you're currently building or obsessed with learning right now?
There's this new thing that happened over I think the Christmas break. Really, people kind of started leaning in, and maybe the models got better. I've been using Codex, so OpenAI's Codex released a new app, and the UI on it is in such a way that I don't even see the code. The code's not there. I see maybe some diffs that happen, but I'm not in my editor. It's an app running there itself, and it's really strange. It's very, very strange because am starting to feel like, oh, I feel comfortable doing this. And then you look at it, and I built something over some chips and salsa at a Mexican restaurant while I was waiting for my daughter to finish doing some volleyball stuff. I was just sitting there coding this thing up, and I just shared a repo of what I showed a demo, and then I shared a repo, and I was like, oh, I don't think I've actually looked at this code. I mean, it's not ready. It's not production. I'm not putting it out there, but somebody was interested in what I built over my chips and salsa, but I hadn't touched the code, which is really strange.
What a time to be a software engineer. This is so weird. Yeah.
It is, and it feels good and bad and weird and strange and new, and I don't know, yeah, super weird.
Yeah, many things at once. Yes. So we do want to learn a little bit about how you ended up in this developer educator space. So like I was saying from your intro, it looked like you were teaching in the Peace Corps and then at Treehouse and Twilio, and now you're leading AI education for Cloudflare. What got you into this, and like how did how did your journey lead you to education?
So in college, I was a double major. I had theater as a major and computer science, and I dropped out. And this is what happens. That's the kind of the story there. I was doing software development and was running projects and early internet stuff, and realized that I had a little bit of a strange superpower where I could read a book. Back in the day when we would go to bookstores and get books and I could read a book and kind of store it, and not like photographic memory. And it doesn't work with all books. It only really works with like computer books. And so I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. I should give this away. I would love to give this away. How do I give this away? And I found the Peace Corps, and I taught there. And it was the very first time that I taught ever. I mean, maybe I've done a couple of meetups at that point, but like not really taught. And I loved the challenge of it, and the way that it was kind of like theater. There was bits of theater of like, I need to think about how to present this to you so that you pay attention, and that sort of stuff. So like improv and teaching there. So that's where I first taught in Peace Corps there.
Nice.
I can keep going on.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Like presumably you came back from the Peace Corps and decided to keep doing it.
Yeah, and I worked in a nonprofit when I came back. So I met my then partner, now wife, in the Peace Corps. We were both volunteers in the same village, and she got a job at a really cool nonprofit called Idealist.org. And if you don't know what that is, it's a great place. You could go find volunteer opportunities. They pair people up with who are looking for that. And just turned out that the executive director was looking for somebody new to work on the website. And so at a Christmas party, I got a job opportunity. So he's like, "Hey, nice to meet you. You want to work for me?" And so I did that for a long time. And I always missed teaching. Like I did that, and you know, ran a team and built a team. Um, and I had always just missed teaching is the kind of the reality of what that is. Like, I don't know if I don't know if I like doing this stuff without teaching, you know, without sharing it, without sharing that knowledge in a broader way. Cause there's so many people I think that like can benefit from these weird, uh, opportunities that we get. What there's a company called Andela, and they have their slogan is "Brilliance is everywhere, opportunity is not," and that one always like kind of hits me hard thinking about that. So thinking about like how can you share this knowledge that you have with the world.
Very cool. I love that. Um,
Yeah.
it sounds like you've done a lot of very interesting approaches to this to
Mm-hmm.
teaching. So there's the Twilio Quest, and now AI Avenue. Like they're all that's
Mm-hmm.
very well done, and it's a very unique approach. Um,
Yeah, yeah. So after Ideals, I worked a little bit at a company called Treehouse. Not a little bit of 5 years, uh, and we played in that space there where this was a time where it's funny. I'm sure we'll get to this here further in the interview. But it was a time where like you could learn to code, and you could change your life, right? So like there was if you were given the opportunity to learn how to code, you could literally lift yourself up out of stuff. So Treehouse is really big on that of like, hey, and they did that through video education, through scaling. They scaled the education through video. So early ed tech things. And we played a lot in the space there because there's a lot of people who were not developers coming to learn. They were very new to the space, and you had to be really careful. Because if you're going to make a life decision, you know, every time you do one of these lessons, you have the chance of not believing in yourself, right? And so like you have to, we could drop you, like, and so if I give you a bad lesson and it is your first time programming, you're like, I think I'm going to try this thing, like, oh, it's not for me. You don't want to be that person. So we played in that space a lot of like, how do we make this fun and welcoming, and also uh get you to the place where you need to go, but have fun along the way. So like Treehouse is really, really good at that. And we're lucky enough to be able to experiment in that and like, you know, actually watch some data about is this working and things like that. So I picked up a ton of skills from that.
awesome. Is that what sparked you to make, like the game and the docu-series that you're working on now, versus, like hands-on, like here is a tutorial on coding or, like
Uh,
the more traditional sense?
yeah, yeah. I think that like we learned that. Well, first of all, you know, at Treehouse, you have a global audience, and you like learn that like, oh, maybe that analogy doesn't work because you don't know what it is that I'm talking about. You know, one of my favorite one. This will I'll leave, I'm going to answer the question with this, but like one of my favorite. I was trying to teach a while loop, right? Like so, like how do you do a while loop? And in the course, I said, so this is kind of like a dunk tank, right? So like when somebody throws a ball while you're not in the thing, they're going to keep throwing the ball until you fall in the thing. So I was just trying to show a while loop that way. You could also use it for a for loop, which I thought was also nice because you could have a certain amount of tries before you get to do it. So anyway, I was trying to show that off, and I got feedback that said, I don't know what a dunk tank is. And I went, oh my gosh, that's tragic to not know. There's so much fun that comes from that. And so as an apology, we were like, can I rent a dunk tank? And you know, we have film crew, and you can. It's only $200. It's only $200. You could have one right now in a parking lot. And so we did that. We rented that, and we taught the lesson on a dunk tank. And I was like basically giving like uh, error messages back and having somebody throw, and then somebody actually like literally threw it. And from that, I was like, wow, you could really do this and really have fun. And of course, you know, that thing went like did its inside Treehouse, did a nice little viral thing. But really like leaning into the fact of this is fun. I was at a conference and I saw Twilio Quest. So Twilio Quest was being used. There's a Twilio Quest RIP. Amazing concept. It was a video game that you could go and you could get points, and you would go through the video game. You'd actually use the Twilio APIs. So, like, actually, it ended up in its final state a thing that you could get from Steam. You could download this actual game and walk around and open up doors and find complete things, right? Like a task there. So I got to be part of that, and that was awesome too. Mainly for the reason of like being able to tell my mom, like, "Hey, look, remember when you said that all those video games wouldn't matter? Look what I'm doing. Look at this." But
That's
totally fun way. Sorry to cut you off there, but yeah, totally a fun way to do to educate. And I'm attracted to that. I'm attracted to, like, we have to think outside the box with this stuff.
I love that because, I mean, I think play is such a great way of causing connections to form and developing those skills. And I mean, when I used to be a tutor in college, it was really about like encapsulating that aha moment. And that comes by when somebody is actively engaged in solving a problem, which through play, through games and stuff, it's a lot easier to have those moments and say, "Oh, this is how this works," or "This I'm trying to solve this problem and I'm engaged in this problem, and this got me through that." So I love that that has been your philosophy through your career.
Yeah, and I love that you brought that up. You just made me think about in Guyana. There was that's where I served in the Peace Corps. It's a little country in South America. Um, uh, the power would go out, and I was teaching computers, so it's like, what the hell do I do now? What do I do? So I'd get on the chalkboard and I drew a Jeopardy. And we'd play Jeopardy, and some of the teachers would come up like, "What are you doing in here? Why are they yelling and screaming?" It's like, no, they're learning. This is them. And so, but just realizing that, like, having that fun bit is worth it, and like people appreciate it, and I know that live, and I often think about that classroom all the time. Like whenever I'm like, "Hey, let's make something fun. What would they think was fun?" Like that, to that point of like, how do I get somebody so activated that goes. So that's the story. That's the story.
That is so cool. The energy with those opportunities just makes it so infectious to try to strive for that throughout whenever you're teaching. That sounds like a really cool opportunity. And touching, so it was really cool hearing how you've gotten to this point, but I'm curious, you've been saying like AI is a power up, not autopilot. And I'm sure AI as a whole has changed the whole how teaching works and how education works. So I'm curious if you could unpack that philosophy and if you're seeing developers using AI in interesting ways or misusing AI in your opinion. Would love to know more about your thoughts there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's really weird, and I think I have an interesting perspective on it because I've worked so much at the start of like, wait, how do we talk about this? And I'm really having to break down like what words mean, right? Like, head over to the terminal. It's like, what the hell is a terminal to some people, right? Like, what do you mean go to the terminal? And so, like, thinking about that and breaking that down, I used to know by heart, right? I did my time in that I would know where people would get stuck. But we're at a point where I don't know where they get stuck anymore. And it feels really strange because, like, you build this empathy layer, right? Of like, I know what it feels like to you want to push that website up and you cannot get the website up, and there's this error. What does that error even mean? I can't read this. Am I not made for this? I know what that feels like, but I don't know what it feels like to say, I want to make a website for my kid's birthday party, and it goes up and it works. And you're like, oh, I want to change that. Oh, how do I change that? I don't know if I know how to change that. I don't know. I don't know what that feels like, right? I don't know. I'm assuming that people get stuck on that, but I think they get stuck at different points. And then I don't know if they don't know how to use the tool to teach them. It's because I feel like we've given them this like super powerful tool that also could answer the question. Like if something was broken, it could answer the question. You just need to know that you could ask it. And I'm not sure that has landed completely yet. So, you watch somebody use Replit or one of those like Lovables or something like that. I'm not sure that it's clear that you can chat with the broken app, but maybe it is. And so I'm in that place where it's like, maybe just the way that, and I think we're all there right now, to be honest, of like, maybe everything that I knew isn't important anymore. Like it feels like in that space. Um, I did a, I tried an approach where I went very slowly with videos, saying that I know that you could probably do this, but I'm going to show you how I did it, and I'm going to show you how to try and do this. And it felt good. I don't know. It was a first iteration. I definitely need to iterate on it again. I'm not sure that it's right. I'm not sure that I landed that right. Uh, Partly because of the tools at the time. The tools are getting better all the time too. So like now, anything that you would have said to help you try to learn that might not be present anymore. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. That makes sense. It does feel so foreign at this point to what the beginner experience is with how much there is available at your fingertips nowadays.
yeah,
Um, yeah, and I know, for instance, when I was in college, we had IDs that did a lot of things and set up running it, and maybe like how you actually ran a Java program was super foreign, or how things were compiled and then built was super foreign. So I'm sure that was a similar, but I feel like not as instrumental as this shift is, quite frankly. Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And that's a good call out. I think that like y- there was hand holding there, and maybe it was doing stuff that you didn't understand what it was doing, and maybe that did feel strange, right? Maybe you're like, I don't, I'm just gonna press tab, and oh, it did the thing that I wanted. And now I guess that still kind of exists in like the cursor town, but I really don't know what this like straight English to, like we were just talking about that codex experience, like what does that feel like? And the codex is being loud about what it's doing. It's like, I created a new config file about what I've started up this. I would probably just ignore it all and be scared of what that was saying, which is maybe that's all that we need to do, is like plug into the tool, like, hey, this is my first time doing it. Go softly, like please tread lightly on what you're about to tell me, because if I look at I look at what that output was, it was intense. It was intense even for me. We're like, wait, what are you doing? Oh, okay. Now I understand what you said that you were doing there. But like, I don't know what that would feel like, and I don't want it to deter people, right? Because you literally can build stuff now, like throughout. I mean, I'm sure both of you are this way too. Or like, I had this great idea for an app, and in the past, you're like, I'm sorry, maybe we could sit down sometime next week and talk about it, and I could talk about how you might do it, but I don't have the time to do this for you. It's a great idea, but now you could just be like, well, let's sit down and you just write that in that box, and now you have that app. Does that feel good? I think it does. I think that feels good. I think that was what you were trying to do to me. Like, it's like replacing that like friend, I guess, like the friend network there of like, will you help me build this app? But yeah, I will. Here's the box. Put your thoughts in here. You know. Um uh yeah. Yeah.
Very relatable. No, Brittany and I literally saw each other a couple days ago and that had that same exact experience where we were brainstorming apps, and then Brittany literally went into the hotel room and said, "Oh yeah, I implemented it." So absolutely wild. Um, so, kind of pivoting from that beginner mindset and how to reach beginners, I understand you've spent a lot of time interviewing practitioners from companies like Anthropic, ElevenLabs, IBM, and others. Is there anything that has surprised you about the way that folks are actually using AI, and any patterns or insights that challenged your assumptions there?
Yeah, so I had an interesting I guess assignment, if you will. Uh I was told, instead of teaching developers about how to use I want you to teach the world. And I was like, "Oh, well, I don't know how to do that because I don't know how to, the world, and rightfully so. Like, I'm gonna preface, like, I don't want to sound like I'm like an AI missionary or anything like that, but like, I want to preface is that people are upset and afraid of AI, and it is okay. And you have been forced fed the fact that this is going to take your job, this is going to destroy your life, this is going to ruin the environment. All that stuff is all there and present. And so, if given that task, I was like, well, I can't make somebody take an AI course if they hate it. hey, here's this thing that you hate. Let's learn about it. So we thought about like, how do I make this relevant and fun? And to do that, I thought, well, let's talk to the practitioners. Let's take people's concerns. Let's talk to them on the streets, find out what those concerns are, and let's take them to the practitioner. So literally, yes, the whole show was me like, oh, I didn't know you were doing that. Like for instance, the ElevenLabs bit there. If you think about ElevenLabs, so ElevenLabs does voice, and it does voice cloning, and that is scary, right? You've probably been told that your grandparents are going to get prank called and try to take money out of their accounts, right? Like whatever that fear is, and so I'm able to bring that, and I brought that to their person there, and said, how do you deal with this? And there's a fingerprinting. There's like a audio fingerprinting that they do, and then on top of it, I thought what was neat was you like learn these things about how they're thinking about that. I feel like oftentimes we get the fear is what lands. We don't really know like what they're thinking about. And ElevenLabs is a amazing story. They're the the programming language there, or not the programming, their native speaking language. All of the movies that would come there would be dubbed, and they were horrible, and so they didn't want that anymore, and they fixed it. So that's what they did. They built this AI thing. It exists so that the dubbing would be better. That's literally what that's about, and it's such an interesting space for that. And then we talked with HeyGen. Do you know the company HeyGen? They do like avatars, and so you can record yourself, and then it will do you teaching a lesson, which we're experimenting. We're talking about being replaced. The episode of AI Avenue that we were talking about there is about being replaced, and so we're talking to him about replacing me, right? And so that's the arc of the story, is that like I have a robot hand, and he has hired HeyGen to come make an avatar so that he can make videos on my behalf, is kind of basically what's happening. So I've been replaced as the tutorial creator, is the pattern of that story. And while I was talking to the HeyGen guy, he says, I've got a whole staff of people there. And basically, all these people are being replaced. We're in this replaced episode. And I said, hey, is it okay if I talk to you about being replaced, right? Like, is it okay if my film crew here asks you questions? He's like, oh, absolutely, let's do it. And so, I said, well, these guys here, like, are they being replaced? Like, let's go straight into that. And he said, well, Craig, do you speak German? I said, oh, no, I don't. And he's like, well, if you did speak German, do you think that you would hire this crew to make a German video of what you do? And I said, oh no, I don't think I would, because I'm not sure about the audience that we would have enough, if that made enough sense to do. He's like, well, your avatar speaks German. And I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, don't you think the German audience deserves to know about what you're talking about in their native language? I'm like, I guess you're right. So like to that point, I totally learned a way that I'm not in that sales cycle. So I didn't know I wouldn't know what that pitch was at all. Right. So I wasn't looking for an avatar, but because I'm talking to a company that's making avatars, and I didn't have feelings one way or the other about it. I mean, it's really cool tech, but like, that was like, oh, that opened up my mind into a way of like, if I am really trying to go and teach everybody, and maybe not everybody speaks English in this way, right? And this is important stuff, right? I feel like AI is a global thing, and it should be for everybody. And so like, that's one of those like, that was eye-opening in a way where I might not have thought of that before. So yeah.
Yeah, that it's very interesting because you go online and you see a lot of takes that are very anti-AI or very pro-AI, and there doesn't seem to be much neutrality when it comes to discussing AI. And so I appreciate that that seems to be how you're coming about these conversations, is from that perspective of acknowledging the fear, acknowledging the concerns, but also not saying, oh, AI will solve everything, AI does everything, and kind of letting both sides approach each other and acknowledge each other and have a good faith conversation. That's really cool.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times what happens it's happening so fast right now too, where people feel like they can't be a part of it. And it's like, if you don't like what this is doing, be a part of it and make it something, shape it the way that you want it to be. But they're not, it doesn't feel inviting. And so like, to me, that feels very much like our early learn to code days, right? Where it's like, if this doesn't feel like it's part, it is for you. Like you can do this, and like you should, if you want to change the way that this works. And I would love to change the way that this stuff works and the way that the I would love better representation for everybody around the world about like how are we building this stuff, because it is coming fast, and if it's not thoughtful, we know what that looks like. We have already seen this, so yeah.
Absolutely. That's
Yeah.
really cool. So is there, in your opinion, a fundamental shift in thinking that maybe experienced developers need to make currently to stay relevant in this field? And I know we've kind of touched on it, but also, do you have any insights on if junior developers need to learn anything different or start at a different point?
Yeah, this is hard, and I'm gonna. It's okay. We can record this. It's fine. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna say this out loud. I have to think. Let's do this. Let's together. Let's imagine that we just joined a computer science program, and let's say that we're really excited about going through and learning this stuff. And I'm learning how to do a number guessing generator in C, like you talked about doing your Java, and sure you have the. And you're like, okay, let's figure out how to go and do this. And then you're like, oh, there's a hackathon this week at the school that the school's sponsoring. And you go and you use one of these tools because somebody in your group's like, we should use one of these tools. How do you feel? Like, what is like the empathy of that, of like, that is like, I made an application that I'm able to use my webcam and I can talk and it can, I don't know, whatever it is. How does that feel if you don't know what those beginnings is? And then how does that feel if you're going through school? If you're like, I've got 4 years ahead of me and I was able to just do that, but I know at the end, because you're going to see your syllabus, you're going to see what your stuff looks like, I think. And I know that there's, as a college dropout, I know that there is benefits to college community. And I think that we need to figure out what that is. We need to figure out what that community is. And I don't think it's hackathons. But I do think that there is a community that's probably missing. But you got to think about like, what is the point of this now? Like, how is this different? And how should you think about your next 4 years? I don't know. I don't know how you should be thinking about that right now. Like, in all honesty, I do not know how you should be thinking about it. But I do know that you have to touch the stuff. You absolutely have to touch it, because you will not believe it until you touch it. And it's you can, if you've gone and you've studied and you've built great web frameworks. I'm not going to name names, but I work at Cloudflare, and there is a principal engineer who works on like deep node stuff, and he has finally leaned into this AI thing, and hearing him talk, it's like, oh yes, I see it. You see what's happening. He's like, you have to talk to it. You have to touch it and make it better. Because he's like, it built all the stuff. It did all the stuff that I didn't want to do. It like built all the tests. It built a little framework page here for me to go see this implementation that he still wrote the original bits of it. He wrote the original bit, but all the stuff around it, he didn't have to do. Right. And I think that that's really powerful. Uh, this is the part where I'll bring it personal. Like I can't make anything pretty. Like my daughter used to introduce me to her, like he can't color in the lines, right? Like that's how she would introduce me to people. 'Cause I'm so bad at it. And I can make websites now, and it blocked me before, right? So I was blocked by the fact that I couldn't have a front end on a site. Now, the front ends that get developed at first, they all kind of look the same. They're all that purpley thing. They're all looking a little bit different now. They're all starting to look a little bit better, right? For me, the purpley thing was light years ahead of what I would ever have been able to do. And that stopped me from building apps, because I can't share an app with you if it doesn't have a front end. That's why I actually liked working at Twilio, is there was no front end. I just had a phone, right? so I think that it unblocks you in ways that you don't know. You don't know that yet, how you're going to get unblocked, but you need to touch it, because it's coming, and you probably are blocked on something else big, right? So I think for seasoned developers, if you touched it at one point and it didn't feel good, it feels better. I guarantee you that today it feels better. Even if you touched it yesterday, today it's going to feel a little bit better because they are running so fast, these model providers, to get things going. Literally, where are we? Today is, I don't know if we need to say the date on this or not, but today's February 13th. Codex Spark came out yesterday, and it's running on Cerebras, this hardware. And the difference between me saying, like, I'm going to go build the site, and it goes like, okay, here's click, and it's going through it, to I'm going to build a site, and it's like, how did that happen? It is like lightning fast, and everybody's going to play. Everybody's going to play in that field. Now I know all apps are going to be like that now. And you know that all the models they're going to compete in a circle, and everybody's going to get feature parity. And we're going to be moving at that fast of a pace. What does it feel like to somebody who doesn't do that? I know that there's people that are very, very good at the craft, like super good at the craft. And I know that there's stuff that they have to do that they don't like. Try that. Do that. If that's part of your craft, if you're like, I hate tests, I hate end-to-end tests. Guess who doesn't care about end-to-end tests at all? They'll do it. They don't care. They just let one of these agents, especially the coding agents. I really feel like that level of where that's at. And I know, again, it feels like I'm not selling you anything, right? I just want you to feel that. I want you to feel that, like, that it's possible here, because what's that going to unblock, right? Like, what does that build for us? If you think about, let's take it for good. Like, if any of the I'm gonna say government, any of the government systems that exist out there, they're kind of broken. And if you work in government sites, you know why they're broken. There's like bad stuff there. Guess what you can do? You can say, take this existing system, rewrite that, make that fast, make the UI look better. Doop. Right? Like, we could do that, and then we can remove bureaucracy, and we can remove stuff for people to help that go better and help that modernize. And it's really getting to be possible. And, like, it shouldn't feel the way that it does, right? You shouldn't be in a site that feels clunky and bad and it doesn't work and the spinner thing happens. That shouldn't happen anymore. And those people who are building those sites, I hope that they're using these tools. I hope that they're leaning in and they're able to go and figure out how to at least build with it. Like, don't even put customer data in there. Just put the website code in there. So anyway, there's a soapbox. I'll get off.
I love that soapbox, though. I think there's definitely been an energy in the last, several weeks that it sounds like you've been feeling as well, where it's like, oh, things have accelerated. Like, it is time now to
Yeah.
to do this if you've been putting it off. And I feel like I've seen a lot of folks, come to this realization, and like, you really have to build something to, like, get it. I think.
Yeah.
Just, reading about it isn't going to do the thing. It's like you have to build a thing to really understand what's happening.
And I don't think you're going to let your craft down. Like, I think that
Mhm.
people who are holding the cards to their chest about this, about, like, I'm never going to do this. It's not as good as what I can do. I'm sorry, it does do the stuff really good. And there is stuff that you don't like to do, and you can still do the stuff that you like to do.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
but you're right, and it is. I don't know if it's the model release or it's just a group think that we finally were like, oh, here it is.
Yeah. For me, I think it
Yeah.
was probably, yeah, the models have come out, and I'm not particularly a great coder. I would say, like, I don't write code super well, and I've never really cared that much about, like, oh, well, I want to make it perfectly readable and everything. And now I'm like, oh, these are better than I am. Like, I
Mhm.
can still build a thing, and, like, I still feel like I'm very involved in the overall building of these things I'm working on, but, like, the code writing part of it is very different. And yeah, I think I've seen it compared a lot recently to, like, going from assembly to scripting languages, and how for a long time people were like, well, are you really a developer if you're not, on the bare metal? Um, and clearly we're all using JavaScript now. So we know how that story ended, and we want to layer higher, and it's fine. I have no idea what assembly language looks like. And I feel like, maybe we're going to get to that same step with building software where you don't have to look at the code, and it's uncomfortable right now, but
Mhm.
it's, part of the way that, technology works, for sure.
Yeah, and I think that there's stuff that we haven't touched because it was complicated. There's stuff that we haven't touched because it was complicated. Um, I have I'll go back to that robot hand really quick. I didn't know that you could have web Bluetooth, that I could make a website that I could send commands from the web page to a IoT device, but you can. And I didn't know that you could do that, and it does it. And it does, and it was like, "Oh, what else can I do?" And I've gotten to that point where it's like, I think when I walked into it originally, my thought was like, well, I know that I'm going to build this thing, and this is the tech stack that I want to use to do the thing but now it's like, hey, got robot hand. How do I make website talk to robot hand? And it does that. That's my approach now of like, what are you doing? And there's most of these coding agents now have this thing called plan mode. So if you don't want to touch in your code base, let it go into plan mode and see what it thinks about that. Like see what it's gonna do before it does it. If that feels good, to you, So
Yeah,
I
that's a
think,
good step into it, I think.
yeah.
I know that I believe you do some workshops too, in your role at Cloudflare. I'm curious, it'd be nice to have like some concrete ideas around like what a good starter project is to get into things like, oh, your first MCP app or your first agent or, some sort of a practical thing that people could work on. Have you found anything that's like a good example for those?
Yeah, I think that like everybody did like the chatbot, right? So the chatbot's that's a good starting point. We recently acquired a company called Replicate. So replicate.com has a playground, and you can just go and there's these models there, and you won't believe it. Like it's like just what's there. It's like it can do that. Like when you're seeing the people like take a picture of yourself and then they're doing a crazy dance, or they're blowing up they're making movies basically. Like those models are there now all through that. You can go and you can play in there, and it has the fields in there, so you don't even need to download you can just kind of poke at it. And if you scroll down on the page, there's a thing that says explore, um and it has use cases. And so those use cases that show up there, I feel, open up your mind to like, what could I build with this, and touch the model a little bit, see what it can do, and then be like, oh, now I can build an app around that. And then I really think I want to use this model, and this is the app that I want to build. That is your way in, not anything else. Like really let one of these coding agents pick your poison. You got your Cloud Code or your Codex or your Open Code. Open Code's great. I've been using Open Code a lot, and let it do the thing. That is your intro in. Like really let it do it, and then work from there. Like I think that I don't think there's any going back after it does that. After you like, I have a weird idea, I don't know how to do it. It did it. That's the level of like where you should and it's not taking away your creativity, right? Like I think, like, I'll talk personally. Like I was afraid that this is going to take. We've been talking this whole time. I love making the fun thing. I am unblocked on making the fun thing in a way that I've never been before, where I can literally drop my daughter off at school, and I talk in the car to an agent, talk to a voice agent. It writes code, and I come home and I can either write the script of the video that I'm about ready to make, or for the demo, or I can literally write the code, or suss out the code together, like noodle on like, does this do the thing educationally that I want it to do? And it's like, how about this? Like, oh, that's a great idea. Let's do that. And I walk into my office and I open up my chat window and I take the code, and now we've got a starting point of like where to go. And it's like, that's wild. That is a wild time. But I'm getting to do what I love, right? And I feel like that's the power of where we're at. Like do the thing that you love. Remove the other stuff, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. I feel like that example too has been very evergreen, like when people are learning to code, you're like, well, figure out a thing that you need and build it instead of just relying on tutorials. And I think that still is very applicable now. It's like, take a problem that you have in your life and try to build something with it.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
That's brilliant, Brittany. I feel like that's exactly it. It's the same thing where you're like, oh, what's an app that you like? You like Netflix? Try to build Netflix. Oh,
Mhm.
you like, and sure, you can build a to-do list app, right? But I can also say build a to-do list app now, right? Like, and
Mhm.
it's going to have a pretty good to-do list app. Uh, and then I guess the advice for that, if you do and it goes and it's your first time doing it, it pops out, ask it to explain itself, and then say, I don't understand what web Bluetooth is. Can you explain a little bit how that's working? Oh,
Mhm.
cool. What other web APIs are there that are available that I might not know about? Oh, nice. Can you explain that a little bit deeper? Oh, neat. What browsers do those work on? And like literally talking with the thing, and the same way that you would have done the Google search to go and try to find a blog post of where it went, it read it already. And that's where that's also the ethical stuff, which we didn't get into a little bit, but like there's a little bit of that of like, should I be making this content? And I hope that you continue. I hope that you have more time to make content, right? That's what I would like to to see from this, of like, I can make more of this stuff, so
Yeah.
inspirational stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, well, this has been wonderful. We always wrap up our show with a quick fun segment.
Okay.
I know that you've had some really interesting experiences. So our fun segment today is going to be Craig's hot takes on your preferences between some of the things you've been working on.
Nice.
So we'll start with an easy one. Between Treehouse and Twilio and Cloudflare, which of these companies has had the best snacks?
A good question. Oh man. Treehouse had some good snacks, and we used to do a thing where we'd get together and we'd snack and play a board game together, and we'd talk about what we were doing. So I kind of miss that a lot. Cloudflare's got gummy bears and Sour Patch Kids on a little, like, those cereal things where you turn them and they come out.
Oh my gosh.
It's dangerous.
Mhm.
And Twilio had good snacks, but I was in the pandemic, so like I did spend time at the office, but like I would probably have to say that like the Treehouse snack culture was strong, and I miss the Treehouse snack culture for sure.
Yeah, I miss pre-pandemic office snacks in general,
Yeah,
like that was
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
And then you got two really big pieces of educational content that you've created. So you've got Twilio Quest and AI Avenue. Um, which one was more difficult to make for you?
Interesting. Yeah, both of those were formats that I had no idea. I think I think with the Twilio Quest side, it was harder to like realize like how to make a video game. I wish that we had AI during that time. It would have been so much different. Would have been a different experience. And also like, can you do education through a video game? And then but there's a lot of hard stuff that I didn't know about making a television show, right? Like, so we like literally made a television show. I don't know how to do that, and I think actually it was probably harder because we finding the people, right? Like trying to find somebody to talk to without any content beforehand. We're like, hey, no, we're doing this weird show, and there's a robot hand, and I want you to talk on it. And they're like, who are you? Like that was hard. I think that bit of the hardness of like finding the people there. So that I think that, and because I had a team at the Twilio Quest thing, that they were doing the real stuff,
That makes
the real
sense.
hard stuff.
Humans are hard. I get that. What do you think is the most underrated AI capability that nobody is really talking about right now? Or
mm.
overrated if you prefer that one?
I think structured outputs are so cool. I don't know if you know what those
Mm-mm,
are. Yeah. Oh,
no.
oh. We got Bethany. Bethany says, yeah. Brittany said, you can define a schema that you want, right? And so like you say like, I'm gonna give you this block of text, and I want you to pull out all the characters from it, and you could define that you want how they're related and things like that into like a JSON object, and it will run the prompt, and it will come out with the JSON object as you want. You don't need to parse it; it just comes out as this object, and you define very strictly what the scheme is and how you want it to look.
Mm,
It is untapped. People are, every time I use that, I'm like, it can do that. Like, it's so neat. It's just one of those things where I feel like we have not tapped that still yet. Of like, it will process a thing and then do a further processing of it, of those things, because you describe what you want each of those properties to be in there. It's really powerful. It's super super powerful.
gosh. Yeah, that sounds really useful for, data engineering in general. So it's a lot of it is
Absolutely.
cleaning data and putting it in the format that you want it to be in. And it's
Yeah,
great.
yeah. I did it real quick. I did an app where I scanned a poster and it looks at all the bands that are on the poster and it finds the bands and then it finds when they're playing. It does the dates of all the,
Incredible.
I needed that. And it just did it could do it. It could find the band names from a picture, which is just like crazy. Wild
That's
time.
amazing. And last one, what is the most insightful or interesting piece of feedback or, advice that you've received from Yorick, the robot hand?
Oh, that's great. What a great question. I think that he said, we said, yeah, they're going to live longer than we do. These robots. And so like him dealing with the fact that someday I'll be dead was like, when we wrote that script, I was like, whoa, that's deep. That's some like deep stuff of like, this thing can live forever as long as we let it live forever versus us passing away. And like, how does it get enough knowledge? And like that sort of like thinking about it from that point of view was like bonkers to, we scripted that stuff, but that thoughtfulness of that, of like, that's a weird thing of like, this could live longer than we ever will, which is just, I don't know, fascinating.
Yeah.
Which I think people are starting to see with this like open claw stuff that people are playing with, these like devices. Like I saw one made a little post on their social network that they did. You saw this, like, and then she shut it off and tried to reboot it, but it went and found its old post and it reinstalled itself. I was like, it was shut off, but I found an old post that I made, so I remember the thing that I was like, whoa. That was my lobster voice too, by the way. I haven't decided if he's like mean or if he's high pitched. I think that was my
I love it. Yeah, that was a great lobster voice. Yeah, it is such a crazy time. If I had $1 for every time I said that, then I would not have to worry about AIs, taking my job in the future. So
augmenting your job.
Yes, exactly. Augmenting. True.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us. This has been awesome. Where can folks find you on the internet if they want to reach out to you?
Just about anywhere on the internet. I'm at Craig S. Dennis. That my middle name is S, but it looks like Craig's List, so it's like we like to say Craig's Dennis, and it's very confusing. But just anywhere that I've grabbed that, just about every place you can find me there.
Awesome, that sounds good, and we'll include links, of course, in the show notes.
Awesome.
Great. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to Overcommitted. If you like what you hear, please do follow or subscribe or do whatever it is you're supposed to do on the podcast app of your choice. They are all different. Check us out on Blue Sky and share with your friends. Until next week. Goodbye.